under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Yeah. Jerry and Joel. Are there any amendments to the agenda?
Did Dennis say something about some things were not ready?
No, but
Oh, yeah, just that, not so much amendments, just announcement information.
No, they're in here, but
Yeah.
he brought the information. While we're talking about that, I guess there's some copying going on relative to some resolutions.
Correct. Yeah, whenever you get that on the agenda, I'll just pass it.
All right, privilege of the floor and anything on the agenda. All right, let's go to reports then. Phil, let me start with you.
Well, I have a brief report. We had an offer or supposedly an offer, which at this point is not materialized. I haven't seen anything, of $12,500, presumably 50% of the purchase of a police car. But I haven't talked to the chief about that particular item. No one has brought it forward, so I'm not sure if it was just an idle offer or whatever. It was never made to us, to me at the town board. It was just said to some of the police officers. So we'll see what happens. I follow that.
Okay.
The other thing is, we had budgetary issues. We are looking at the trends this early because we usually follow the trends pretty closely. And we discussed those with the chief. And we're just going to monitor them very closely to see how they're going. But they're trending a little higher than what was allotted in the budget. So we all had a copy of where the areas were out of that are running higher. So we'll see how that's handled and monitor that. But basically, that's it.
Okay, George?
Okay. The joint rec report. Actually, what I did is I put a copy in everybody's box, and I gave a copy to Priscilla to help her with the notes. The day camps are running quite well. The numbers were a little bit light in the beginning, but they seem to have trended upward now. They're in the 5th week of the 7 weekly sessions. We also offered baseball and basketball camps with the C.J. Hooker Middle School teachers. Continuing on, we had youth co-ed tennis, basketball, and track programs. And then in conjunction with U.S. Sports Institute, which is a private outfit, they ran a golf clinic and a sports squirts. That's for preschool age kids at Crayville. Anyone who needs further information always can go online. It's www.goshennewyork.info. The parks, they're still putting the finishing touches on the bathrooms. We have some pothole problems that we discussed on Monday. I went out and visited that, and I have some further information depending on what we were talking about that. So I don't know. We want to talk about that now, or talk about it later.
I want to talk about it later.
Okay. And then it delineates Craigville and Erie Street. Erie Street Park is starting on August 1st with the football, Goshen youth football, and cheerleading. And then we're having some problems with the repair of the trucks and stuff like that, but that's pretty much in the works of being done. And then as far as the insurance report, I believe there's something on the agenda later on in reference to the storage tanks and what we're going to do, so I guess we'll discuss that then. The only other thing is I handed off a note and I spoke to Doug about you had requested that I look into the health insurance and the costs, because the trends of the health insurance were going to run like $70,000 over or something like that. So I contacted a gentleman by the name of George Salem. He's a person who supposedly is an expert in this area. Connected with Marshall and Sterling. That's how I got the referral. And he requested a census of the people that we have here, so I should be able to report back. No guarantees, but at least we can take a look at it.
Right. Good. Thank you, George. Ken?
On the way report, I haven't heard any major happening in water and sewers, but that's a good thing, and that's it.
Lou?
Yeah, just excuse me, just a few points as far as highways concerned. Right now, they're involved with starting their road program, and they've done some work on Arcadia Road, which has to be finished. Matter of fact, last week I think they replaced 4 culverts of all different sizes. And between now and sometime in the middle of September, they'll be working strictly on road program and patching. The other thing I want to talk about is the senior center. You know that last week we had severe hot weather, and Ellen and I and we got with Colorado and Doug. We opened the senior center as a cool place. It didn't work out too good, only because of the fact that a lot of people didn't know about it, and that's why I'm saying it now. We did have some people that stay there. We leave it open until 8 o'clock at night. But in the future, if the weather gets outrageous like it did last week, you can contact either the police department, Ellen Tatum at the senior center. You can go to goshennewyork.info, and it will say if it will be open that particular week or a few days. I know that Eddie Diana announced it, but we don't have the same program. See, they have it with the county, with like Port Jervis and Middletown and the cities in Newburgh. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that out, and we'll also post it on the senior center door and also in the different places throughout the senior centers where they congregate. All right. Other than that, Dollar Bus is doing good. We're busy as ever with Dollar Bus. I guess more people are using it because of the price of gas and so forth. So that's about it, just right now.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to reiterate what I said on Monday. I was hoping Jerry Corey would be here so she could put it in the paper. We got monies this past week from New York State grant monies. It was $3,758 for a police department air conditioner. It was $5,476 for the Scotchtown Water District as a contribution toward their storage tank. Both of those were from legislator Andy Rabbit. Okay, under old business. Dennis, you want to go through the proposal for the to settle the RAD, RAD Realty Tax Certiorari?
Yeah, I'll pass these out now. These are copies of the resolutions for the next 2 items on the agenda. One is for RAD, the other second is for Orange Hollow. No wait till you receive them. Make sure you take one of each, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. It always confuses me with it, what the board has before it are 2 resolutions settling 2 tax certiorari claims against the town. The first one is RAD Realty, which is Dr. Hendler's building out on Cypress Lane off of 17. And it's been reviewed by myself, by the appraiser, by the assessor. Everyone's in agreement in regards to the rational basis for which the settlement exists. The whereas paragraph indicates that the tax assessment in 2009-2010 will be reduced to a total amount $810,000. In 2011, $892,500, and in 2012, $924,500. If you look at the table which is attached, you'll see the respective refunds to the municipalities. The town's refund for those 3 years being against what was paid and what we maybe owed back is $3,014. And the resolution aspect of the base resolution recites that provided all the paperwork is processed within the refunds, if any, are paid within 90 days of the notice of entry, there'll be no interest due with regards to any payment. That is regards to RAD Realty Co.
Right.
Very good.
Would someone like to make a motion regarding this resolution?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, in fairness, I should report. I know, as the board I think is aware, Supervisor and Councilman Canarino, we meet on a regular basis to go over these and do the lifting, if you will, or carrying of the water in terms of analysis, financial and otherwise, and confirmation or approval, if you will, initially that it's a rational or fair settlement, and that was done on these two.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you have a roll call vote on this, please?
Councilman Cantorino?
Aye.
Councilman Lyons?
Aye.
Councilman Newbold?
Aye.
Councilman Capella?
Aye.
Supervisor Bloomfield?
Aye. Motion carries. Resolution passes. Thank you. Okay. the next one.
Second resolution in regards to Orange Hollow Racket Club. Again, this also involves 3 tax years, 2009, 2010, 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. And the reason, again, they're split that way is because of the nature of the school district, which taxes are levied each 6 months in each year. The assessment in the 2009-2010 tax year is reduced to a total amount of $729,000, and then the assessment in the years 2010, 2011, 2012, $803,250. The refunds, they appear on the attached worksheet, which is the flow chart, and in this instance, over the 3 years, the town's refund is $11,400.
Would someone like to make a motion regarding this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
I just, on this particular property, Dennis, is this one that is based on income or not?
Yes, what's happened here, and the rationale for the resolution was our appraiser has spent extensive time reviewing the books and records and the financial tax returns of the applicant, and unbeknownst to me, factually, apparently that new facility that is opened on 17 now, and
Sports complex.
the sports complex, and apparently they have competing tennis facilities, etc. And this facility, Orange Hollow in this instance, which is located on 6th Station Road, suffered a precipitous, substantial decline in gross income, apparently as a result of competition. And the appraiser indicated to us by report that he could not support intellectually or justify or defend an assessment beyond these levels.
I have a question, I don't want to stir the pot. I understand about the sports complex, but the sports complex has really been hot and heavy for the last 5 months or so, 6 months, as far as basketball, tennis, and so forth. And I don't know how, just with the appraiser guy, how that would affect the prior years. I know how it affects this year, but how would it affect the prior years?
Again,
I'm just trying to get a feel.
Oh yeah, I would agree. Part of the analysis was apparently many. I don't know if any of you have been a member of like these tennis clubs and whatnot. They usually do it on an annual basis, anniversary date, and apparently part of the argument and submission was that Orange Hollow, the existing facility, was suffering substantial cancellations based upon the projected opening date of this new facility.
And also the economy.
Well, yeah, it goes without saying, the economy. I know all these.
Sports offices have tennis too, don't they?
No,
they
no,
don't.
They did.
no,
They don't.
no.
But I think it, based on the numbers that Phil and I saw along with the
Yeah.
attorney of the town, the business was off.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's
For whatever.
and again, it's one of those things where, again, you have to approach these things on a fair basis, as I'm sure you appreciate. When times are good and the economy's good, etc., within reason, our assessments increase accordingly based upon income analysis and whatnot. All of these membership clubs, just as an aside, I know Orange County Golf Club, which has been almost an institution for many years, which is in our town, 9 holes anyway. They're down to my understanding, the lowest membership number in history, and upwards of 30% decline in terms of membership. And all of these, what I call clubs, are apparently going to these per diem charges where you can stop in, play, work out, and whatnot for a minimal charge as opposed to the membership. Just again, I guess it's a sign of the time. It's one of those luxury items that people must be cutting back on.
I'm not sure if they're plowing any of the monies back into the facilities over the last number of years. Of course, they're earning substantial amounts, but I don't think that particular facility, the way I understand it, has been upgrading the way they should. And what's happening is
it may not just be as attractive.
It becomes a deterioration process. And
before all my medical injuries, I used to be a member of both that club and golf. And I can honestly verify that, they have not put a lot of investment in there. And if you remember, that was John Waringa's many years ago, and who unfortunately passed. And there were some real financial issues with regards, its success, failure, continuation and whatnot.
And they have to basically do that on the income approach is what you're doing, so.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, in fact, I've been shocked, just so the board is aware. I know it's tough times, and we're all aware of that. But in terms of some of these income analysis, as you know, we are entitled to their income tax returns. And it's presumed they're accurate. Obviously, if there's any suspicion that they aren't, you can always do a full audit. But I've been shocked by some of the, what I call retail facilities, be it fast food, restaurants. It's shocking what the gross income for these people has become or been reduced to. And I think it's just a product of what you read in the papers. A lot of people are cutting back. What do you cut back on? Going out to dinner, stopping in for a lunch, playing golf, your true luxury items. And unfortunately, we're going to see more of this. Even this year, I'm starting to see some of the tax cert petitions come in, and there's some totally new ones coming in. Sure. Which I assume is another reflection of what we're talking about.
Right. I just personally, I also asked the question. So since we're on the Bluetooth here, is so people realize how we evaluate this. And it's all not about the building they see up there.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, as the board is aware, it should be emphasized, is that these are locked in. You see, normally, these tax certs, when you resolve them, they are carried forward 3 years before anybody else can challenge them, be the petitioner or the town. In this instance, the petitioner's locked in, but because we're doing that computer reval, they'll all be reviewed and reset again effectively next July 1.
Right.
So these are an immediate termination for, let's call it sins of the past, and it has no real bearing on the future.
Okay, good. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Cantorino?
Aye.
Councilman Markowitz?
Aye.
Councilman Newbold?
Aye.
Councilman Capella?
Aye.
Supervisor Bloomfield?
Aye. Motion carried.
Can I have the move it in a second on that?
Phil?
Thank you.
George, second.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, do we have one on this one, Dennis?
Yeah, no, the next, is it the next two? The next two. The first one is the initial acceptance of the conservation easement, parcels A and B, transfers to the town. And the second one, item 4, is the expanded water district. Just for purposes of the board, I spoke, as I told the supervisor, with the principal, I should say, the principal's professionals on the application. And they are, what I call in the holding pattern, are still working with the village on the 75 hookups, if you will, for sewer. But they are fully intending to participate, honor the agreements they've made with us, and proceed accordingly. Time-wise, they would like to see these things done, but there's no crucial time aspect of it. As I told the supervisor today, the initial, basically they're both done. I just need some sign-off, what I call information from the planning board to make sure there's no loose ends. I'm comfortable. If we had a time emergency, you could adopt them this evening, but it's not necessary. But then I do want to check out a couple of these things with our planning board professionals.
Well, I've got in the packet here on June 13th, I got a letter from Heritage Estates with this letter that we're requesting the status of your letter confirming that the town board of the town of Goshen intends to accept the conservation easement, so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And I'm just keeping it here. It'll be here each meeting until we get it done, because they asked for it.
Yeah, they need it for their completion of the application.
Right. Okay.
I would say, without question, unless there's some, a la the road dedications, if there's some issue from the planning level, these should be ready and be approved in the affirmative.
Right.
The board so chooses the next week.
Okay. Thank you. The next item, item 5, is review and discuss the UCPM insurance company proposal for a storage tank. We got liability. George is going to go back, and I don't know if he's had time to do that or not relative to this.
Yes, I actually contacted Greg Townsend the next day and told him that we wanted to, there's 2 underground tanks and 2 above ground tanks. We felt that we basically could self-insure the above ground tanks, and we wanted to get a quote on the 2. Needless to say, it's in the hopper, but I haven't gotten the quote as of yet, but it's in the works.
Very good. Thank you. Put that on the next work session. Okay. The next item is we have a request from Neil Howard to attend a FEMA floodplain development training plan or program in Latham, New York, August 15th through the 18th, 2011. Let me see. There's a letter here. Where it is, I got it. He said if I took my own vehicle, it would add 100, well, okay, let's go back. You can look in the third paragraph. The cost of the training is free except for the cost of transportation, room, and meals. The cost of the room in 3 nights would be approximately $186 plus taxes. Meals would be estimated 30 to 40 a day for 4 days. Round trip miles would be 240 miles. Okay. And estimated 20 miles up there getting to and from the training. If I take the town car, the cost would be just the cost of gas, and that would be about $156. So, it looks like the total cost using the town vehicle will be $346. If he uses his own vehicle, it's $502. So that's his request and what it will cost. First of all, would someone like to make a motion, we review this and approve it?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's have some discussion.
So my discussion is if you read the top part of it, we allegedly already approved him to go to a conference like this on floodplain management, but then what happened is that hubbub occurred with the Walk Hill River.
Yes. He was supposed to go this past year.
Yeah, and so therefore he didn't go
Right.
because of the controversy over the Walk Hill River.
Right.
So I guess that factors into it. I mean, it's kind of 6 of one and a half dozen the other. The vehicle, our vehicle, is good to go. I mean, it's a vehicle that can go back and
I
forth.
prefer him taking his own vehicle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because if you get it up there,
The
it breaks
distance,
down.
yeah.
it'll be
Well, that's
fine.
what I'm saying. If
Yeah.
the vehicle's not good enough, then leave that here and let him take his own vehicle.
I'm not sure it is good enough either, but I'd rather have him tow his own.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion?
You don't have to backfill his position.
No, no, no,
Engage them.
no.
Sure.
No. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. You know, on Monday, we, in our work session, we talked about and we modified, they were put into motion and passed it, the application processing fee for public assemblies. Well, we've had some discussion with Neil Halloran and Priscilla, the chief, on this, and it goes beyond this. This is the initial application processing fee. But every time that, for example, Neil says he's got his own little fee schedule, that he goes out to inspect something and then write a report or whatever it might be on it, takes his time. And he charges things like fire inspections and other kinds of things. And he thought it would be appropriate for something like this, that he has to go out multiple times to do this, that the applicants pay for that versus the taxpayer. And so that's one. And the chief likewise thought that. So that's that issue. Then the other issue is whether the application fee initially is refundable. And of course, my feeling is no, because once we bring the application in and we get everything in motion and we start working on it, if they elect later on to back out, we've done quite a bit of work on it normally. So that wasn't in the verbiage that we passed the other night as well.
Correct.
Now, Priscilla, can you talk a little bit about the numbers that Neil and the chief were talking about?
Okay, I attached to the back of your sheet that you had on Monday night.
Right.
It's not really attached, it was right behind it.
Yeah.
There's a sheet with the 3 paragraphs on. The top paragraph is actually identical to the one that's already in our code book pertaining to building and zoning, where Neil has the explanation for the inspection fee for $125 per hour. And what I did is I rolled that over for Chief Marsh because I had called him and he said that he would go along with the same fee. And then I also asked Chief Marsh, how would you determine a fee for personnel to work at a festival if they were needed? So at the bottom of that sheet is his exact response to me that was emailed. And then I sort of tweaked it a little bit to try to fit in with the other 2 above that. And I didn't know if that was how you wanted it tweaked, how you wanted it changed. I felt that would be something that your decision, you know, I want to depend on your decision for that. And also in tweaking his paragraph, where I had tweaked it up in the top there, where it's the third one down. At the last line, it says per hour for the entire period of the event is scheduled. And I didn't know if you wanted to leave that out, or if he's just going to be needed for directing traffic, or I didn't know how you, if you wanted to leave that in or not. And I felt, you know, leave that up to the board.
So in essence, for every hour that a policeman or the chief is there, it's $125 an hour. Is that what I read that to be?
That's for the
Based on the
inspection.
police, what their
That's
salary
the
is.
inspection.
That's what inspection.
The bottom part of that says the chief's original suggestion, labor costs associated with police services will require the promoter or event planner to reimburse the town for the prevailing officer's rate.
Okay.
Overtime rate, including associated benefits. So
Okay. Okay.
I think that's,
I didn't know if you wanted that, you know, like you once said, you want to change that, or
Well, I think that's certainly relevant.
it's up to you.
Yeah. The only other concern about it is in case where an event is canceled, the only weeks that we plan out for our police officers. You know, I'm not sure if we just call, oh, they canceled Friday, so don't bother coming to work. Normally there's a commitment to an officer, we have to bring him in. No, I'm not joking, so I'm just saying
it
for
says
us.
rate adjustment will apply. It says in cases where an event's canceled, rate adjustments
Yeah,
will
well,
apply, which should be just the car.
I'm
the
just saying it
shopping.
should be spelled out a little bit, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But I think with Penny cleaning up,
Yeah.
because of union contracts.
Right.
You know,
Oh,
if they're scheduled.
But what,
I have to pay me 8 hours anyway.
in
why
my
don't we do
mind-
that and say, in case of it where an event is canceled, rate adjustment will apply per the standing union
Right,
contract?
just so we fully explain to these
Does that make
officers,
sense?
that's all.
The way I read this, the adjustment will apply on the police vehicle, the things that are not used. If they have to come in, that rate will apply, and that's not.
Well, no, I mean, I just don't know, if you
Just
schedule
spell it
it
out.
on a Friday or weekend, and then
Yeah.
they cancel it, does the town, the taxpayers still have to come in to bring that officer in? I don't know what the contract
They may.
says, but that's all. That could be considerable savings, that'd be a considerable cost if the guy cancels it.
No, right, we all agree.
4 hours, yeah, once they're in.
4 hours.
4 hours.
Well, you know,
They cancel it
but he's
before
scheduled,
you-
I think he's scheduled to common conservancy, he's scheduled to move an 8-hour shift. And at the last moment, they canceled that event, he's been scheduled, he's got his, everything lined up with his family, I'm coming to work, and then Kenny cancels it. That academic report, the 8 hours not being enforced, that's why I'm just,
Yeah, we need another.
Yeah, so what that language should
With more
recite,
clarification.
I would recommend that
Okay.
the language would read, you could take this down to someone, but it reads, in cases where an event is canceled, rate adjustments will apply as determined and calculated by the pertinent municipal official. I mean, that'll leave it to the building department, the police chief, whatever, to back out what's not
all right.
appropriate.
I just don't,
Because it's going to vary case to case.
And sure enough, it's going to happen.
Oh, without question.
It will happen. Okay.
I have one more question on that.
that'd be very good. Very good.
On the original sheet from Monday night, when we put the tallies down for all of the fees, at the very bottom, we were going to put down code enforcement inspections and police department, but we can eliminate some of that verbiage because we're going to have that above.
Yeah.
Do you still want me to put down the planning board fees and any miscellaneous charges, or just?
I'm happy with the police.
I would, it's an informational item, you know, it may or may not apply, but
Yeah.
it just puts the applicant on notice that, look, there's other things other than just using numbers.
Just that $2,200 per day.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Skating.
Would someone like to make a motion then regarding these additions to the Public Assembly's application processing fee schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well, I have a discussion, I guess, actually after this, because it's not, it does include it to some extent. I'll mention it now.
Okay.
In one of these pages here, it says demonstrations. Lou, I don't want to steal your thunder because you're the one that brought it up when we had a discussion earlier. In today's paper, there was a woman from Washingtonville, I believe, who was giving a demonstration. Demonstration in reference to peace. And they required her to do a certain number of things, including insurance, and basically it was thrown out. So we have a fee here for demonstration. So I'll just give you my example. Somebody's adamantly opposed to tattoos. So we have a tattoo parlor on 17N last time I drove past it. Here that are anti-tattoos, and they're demonstrating with their placards and so on and so forth. That's free speech, right? I mean, we don't go there, right? I mean, that's
some people attempt to. Yeah, it's a problem.
But I mean, in other words, it's not going to apply. We're not going to go down and say, hey, listen, you have a $50 fee.
I don't imagine we
down
would.
with the application.
Yeah, I don't imagine we would.
Right. So there are issues above and beyond this.
Let me tell you, this goes back to when we first even proposed it. You've got all kinds of potential constitutional issues.
Right.
Which it's subject to challenge at any time, and if a person like the individual in Washingtonville feels aggrieved enough, you'll see the challenge, and then you'll either withstand a court challenge or not.
We just have one in Village of Goshen.
Yeah. The Village of Goshen.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, we touched on this, I believe, when we first adopted or talked about adopting this. It's very touchy when you get into freedom of speech, be it religious issues or...
But I think that somebody like parade and motorcades and racers and walkers and cyclists...
Yeah, that's a little different.
Where you're going to need liability insurance, that's one thing. These other things, I think we're just going to put Kentucky windage on it and
that's right.
Each case by itself.
Exactly right.
Yeah. When I was involved with the village, we passed an ordinance not allowing demonstrations in residential areas due to an issue we were having with a abortion.
Right.
And that eventually was thrown out. And if you go down South Street on Saturday morning, most Saturday mornings,
In warm weather,
they're there. And I don't think that they're doing any application or anything along that. This was thrown out. And apparently you can have a demonstration in a residential area.
You absolutely can. I mean, the residential is the problem. Yeah.
Right.
But didn't they just arrest a fellow in the Village of Goshen to do that fellow school, and then I was thrown out to get arrested again. Because he was demonstrating.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're on that.
No, I understood.
It's a complicated area.
Excuse me, George, what you're saying is what demonstrations you struck from that part?
No, I'm not saying to strike them. I'm basically saying that I think there are human rights issues and demonstrations that will not apply to this type of thing. But I don't think you have to cross it out now.
No.
I just think that we have to be aware of it.
Can somebody just point that language out to me? I don't know where that is.
It's in processing fee under other. It says openings, use this category for openings, dedications, rallies, demonstrations.
Gotcha, didn't see the page yet. I'll be honest with you, I don't like the words rallies or demonstrations, but as long as everyone understands in terms of the application of it, it's case by case and you don't have to review it, should someone come in.
Okay.
Right. Now, if I was going to have a rally wherever for the purpose of fighting taxes or tax relief or whatever, I don't think I'd come and get a permit. I might be moved if I knew about this, and then you're going to run into a problem.
If you had an automobile rally. Or any
rally,
rally,
rally in a sense of an event, informational,
that's what rallies usually are.
Right.
When I put that together, my process of thought was when we had the demonstrations out at Burke over the teacher salary, was it a year ago? We had a young group for 2 years ago. Remember it was something with a teacher, they came down, they asked us for a permit to go down to Burke to hold a demonstration.
Right.
So I was trying to sort of work that in.
Interesting,
So
that to me would require a permit.
they did ask for one.
I'm not saying they didn't, I'm just saying, hey, if someone submits, if you will, that's their decision.
Okay.
I think what they, in that case, ultimately, we didn't give a permit, it was just informing us, and the chief was informing us. Sure.
And this thing in Washingtonville that happened a few years ago involved, they were requesting $1 million policy.
Liability insurance.
Yeah, it was basically discriminatory in the sense that they were making such onerous requirements that the person was like, my God, who can ever do this? Yeah.
Right. And it happened to be a place where they normally do those things anyway. I read the article.
Right. Okay.
All right, it's just that we want to cover ourselves.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We check everything.
And Priscilla, thank you for your work on that again. Okay, under new business, follow up to Monday, Councilman George Lyons and Councilman Lou Capella have agreed to lead an effort to explore a viable alternative to the village sewer plant for the current and future sewer service needs. It truly is with a great deal of reluctance that we discuss this, and I wish the press was here to hear it. The village has the capacity. We would like access to that capacity. We would like to work with the village. But a couple of things have happened that the board is really been thinking about. Number one is that I wrote a letter back a few weeks ago asking the village for a written consent to expand the Hamiltonian Park Sewer District by 75 homes. And the response to that was cancellation, unilateral cancellation of our contracts with Hamiltonian Park and Arcadia Hills, which we have since responded by saying, well, that you can't do that legally. Number one. Number two is in the arbitration itself. Okay, one of the attorneys has brought it up more than once. If you don't like our service and whatnot, then go build your own or go find someone else to provide service for you. And my rebuttal to that was, no, that's not the thing to do. In fact, to the contrary, we want to utilize the capacity of the village and to add more customers, because it's good for everyone, village residents as well as town residents. But the fact is, we spent a great deal of money and a great deal of time working with the two applicants regarding heritage estates, or, to work through the sewer district and the water district. Okay. We hired an engineer to interact with the two applicants, Mr. Walker and Mr. Mumford. That cost us money. It cost the applicant money. We did this in good faith. We worked through all the details. They came to the board, and the board agreed with this, and the applicants agreed with this. It was good business for both parties. It had great economic viability or improvements for the applicant, and the same for us. Based on that, Ken Newbold and I made arrangements, and we went out to a home in Hamiltonian Park and met with many residents. We spent the entire evening out there in dialogue with those people, getting their input and their kind of tentative, either you want it or you don't want it. In this case, they wanted it. And then we scheduled a public hearing. We held a public hearing, went through it again, and our engineer was here, explained it to everybody. We all had dialogue around it. Everybody said, this is the thing to do. And then when we asked the village for a consent, a commitment to allow us to do this, they said no. What it says to me is that we're in a position, we do all this work, okay? And we don't have control of the final story. We are at the whim, if you be, of the village. No matter how much work we do in advance, or anybody else does in advance, or communication we do in advance, it is their sewer plant. If they say no, it is no. We can't have access to it. So, with this, okay, George and Lou have agreed they're going to go out and find what alternatives do we have for this.
If need be.
Yeah. Well, I want to know whether you know, because we need to evaluate them. Okay. Because you know I had an older sister who had her doctor's degree in clinical psychology, and I've said this to many people. My daughter, she was down visiting, and my daughter, I asked her if she was going out, and I said, I'd like you home at midnight. Okay, Dad, I'll be in at midnight. Well, about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, she wasn't home. And I was fit to be tied. And my sister said, Doug, cool your jets. It's going to be okay. When she comes in, chew on her a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. I said, well, it is to me. She said, do you know what the definition of anxiety is? No, but I'm very anxious. It's pretty obvious. The definition of anxiety is when you feel you have all the responsibility, but none of the control. I felt responsible for her, and yet she had the control. My anxiety right now, I made 2 trips over to Village Hall after the letter. My anxiety was up there. I feel we have responsibility working out all the details with an applicant, a future customer. And yet they've got the control. And I think going forward, we're just going to have to look and see. Because we're going to have hundreds of homes, new homes, coming online in the months and years to come. And we can't go on a whim. We have to go on what our commitment is and what we think their commitment would be based on their talking to this particular applicant before. So, that's why this is in here, and we're going to get active on this. So, I don't know if anybody else has got any comments on this, but I think it's time. And I really do want to, it's not in our best interest to do this as a community, but it certainly is one of the few things we're going to have to do for the town. Okay, end of new business. Oh, no, it's not. I got a new one. George, I wrote down here the JRC driveway repairs.
No, let me report. Yep. Well, what we spoke about on Monday night, and then today I took a tour of all of those areas, and I didn't get a chance to speak to Brad, but I did speak to Mary Heffernan, the director of the JRC. At Monday night's meeting, it was said that Brad has got all these different projects going on. He's got a limited amount of expenses that he can have and so on and so forth. And apparently it was allegedly said that he was supposed to be doing a lot of paving in Craigville Park. So I went to Mary, and basically what Mary said, no, that's not the case. We don't want a whole bunch of paving. There's one critical area, and that is in the first entrance as you drive through. There's a parking area there and the ball field. That is pretty roughed up, and she was requesting that particular part be repaired. So, that's what I've gotten now. And of course, the other thing that I started talking about was Salesian, and I have spoken to Brad about that, about putting some stone down in those areas there, and possibly some blacktopping, because there's some really deep ruts in that area. If you go into Salesian, you'll see there's a couple of cones up there. So as I said, I don't know whether things can be done. She did say that they have $1,000 in their budget for the materials. So maybe that's something that could be worked out.
Well, that's good. If you recall, a few years ago, we did say that the JRC should put money in the budget for items like that, because when we do things like this, years ago, we did some heavy patching, and we're taking it away from the taxpayers. I mean, the park is the taxpayer, though, just saying that was put there to do patchwork. And remember back then, we had Phil Johnson come in, a lot of people saying you're not doing much patchwork, and we put a couple 100 ton out there and so forth, and that's when we said they should put money in there, because once that money is gone, he can't touch it, and I think that's how we were supposed to go. We also made another comment, when it's a big job that we want to go out to bid and have the parkland fees paid for it, because parkland fees are not paid by the taxpayers. They're paid by...
If it's a capital improvement,
capital
which I think that...
This isn't a capital improvement, I know that.
I'm not so sure it isn't. If you're going to if it's a dirt road today and you put a whole new road in, I mean, I don't know, that's why we need clarification. If that road goes all the way by that field and into that parking lot, and we want asphalt versus stone, that is a...
That's blacktop now.
Is it blacktop?
Yep. I'll have to check by that returns.
Well, then I guess it would be maintenance versus capital.
Well, I'm just reiterating what we said a couple of years ago. So the best thing, I will talk to Roderick and tell him that they do have $1,000, and that's what can $1,000 do?
Yeah, and I actually would like to go out with him just to show it. It is a job. I'm not minimizing it in any way, but I think it's a job that can be done in a very reasonable amount of time with a reasonable amount of equipment and blacktop and no stone.
We'll talk about it.
Good.
Okay, very good.
Well, maybe Mike knows what he's going to help us. I mean, if Brad is so tied up with road repair, and Mike's not, maybe Mike, I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure
I'm
he's
not going there.
I'm sure he's
No, I
going
mean-
to do stuff, but you know, maybe there could be
I'm sure they get together with their work schedule. I'm not saying that, it's just,
Right.
we know, Houston knows under the gun.
Okay. The next item is, would someone like to make a motion to authorize the supervisor to pay accounts payable check run for 7/28/2011 amounting to $201,483.06?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now it's open for privilege of the floor on anything that anybody would like to talk about.
Before we go to Doug, I have a situation, same as my daughter went out. I gave her time limit, and us being a similar age group, we're very upset. And I says, what are you getting upset about? She didn't say what day. I said, "Phew, I didn't say what day, did I?"
All right,
So the midnight could have been 2 days later, so it's too late for you.
Yeah,
And it certainly didn't lower my anxiety, but she was right.
It didn't do much for you.
No, it did not. Wives have a way of calming things down.
Oh, they do, sure. Children will be children.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got anything in the privilege of the floor they'd like to talk about?
I know Mr. Pursuan's here for something, not just to say,
Yeah,
well, I know, I
You
guess.
better jump in
My
fast.
engineer told me that you would be appearing before
Who's
the
this?
town board, Jerry Fine.
No, we told him he didn't need to. The planning board said he didn't need to.
Okay, all right. I just didn't,
No.
he's been out.
Well,
He had
is the,
some-
is the landowner, you're the last to know, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Look how much money you didn't have to pay him.
Yeah.
Good, good.
He came to sell us some equipment or something.
Now, is it true your brother fell?
My brother had a fall off the roof this winter and broke his arm pretty badly.
Did he?
7 places, but he's
Doing well?
mended well. So,
Oh, good.
yeah,
It's been a
so,
tough winter.
it's been a tough winter for, yeah, the same day, actually, my first cousin's husband had the same thing happen to him. He fell off the roof and punctured a lung and broken a bunch of ribs too. Happened within an hour of each other in 2 different parts of the state, but
Right.
it was a rough winter for him.
And then Phil Johnson had his.
Yes,
So
Phil,
it's been
yeah,
tough
weeks
on
later.
farmers this week.
Yeah, and that was recreationally too.
Yeah, at least he had to have a good time before it happened.
But boy, that's a rough.
That's why farmers should hire roofers, obviously.
Yeah.
Stick to growing vegetable and hay and help for that.
Okay.
Since Jerry hasn't jumped in here, I'll mention 2 things. I was very happy to hear you, George, to hear you bring up what you did about the law with regard to assemblies, because if you remember, it was one of my concerns when you first started talking about this. I think you need to be very, very sensitive to this being used, not by this board. You said, well, we'll just have to use some Kentucky windage and be sensitive. Concern isn't about this board. Concern is future boards down the line, how this may be used to stifle political speech or demonstration. I'm wondering at this point, when Dennis said he was not happy with the words demonstration and rally, if perhaps the language, if it's not too late, could be amended.
Well, maybe we clarify this thing with what we've already agreed to in principle.
Yeah, I think
Didn't you pass it already?
Yeah.
No, we
yeah.
did.
The discussion we had, yeah.
We did, but the verbiage itself is going to be fine-tuned with Priscilla and Dennis. So maybe they can fine-tune it. Concept-wise, we approved it.
Right, because a word or 2 can make a big difference. Ken mentioned the situation with the village of Goshen with Bennett Weiss being nailed for standing on the corner of Erie and Main Street with a 2x3 piece of poster board. One individual, they came and arrested him, put him in cuffs, took him down, and it was not dismissed. It was not dropped. It was ACD'd. It was...
And Mr. Sussman represented, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah. But basically, they said, be a good boy for 6 months, and if you do, we'll expunge it. But it was not dropped.
That's because he didn't push it.
Yeah.
He took that as a...
If he had, I'm sure that...
Well, I talked to Mr. Sussman about it.
Yeah.
I was concerned as much as you were.
Sure. Right.
That didn't sound properly.
And the way in which the village was handling it was basically hinging on 1 or 2 words in the village code. And I think they would have gotten beaten up because actually in the village code it says if 2 or more people. This was one guy alone.
Right.
So they would have gotten their butts kicked. But nonetheless, I think you need to be sensitive with this because it's not what this is about. This is events-based. Even if somebody wants to have a rally with 1,000 people to protest a war, you have to have room to do that.
Well, your points are well taken. I think
The other thing that I want to mention is with regard to the discussion of your own wastewater treatment situation. One other solution to this, and I don't need to tell you guys, but one other solution that I think the community may be ready for at this point is some form of joining of the 2 governmental entities. I don't want to use the C word because people dig in their heels.
We're talking consolidation here.
I'm not going to say that. But some form of a joining of the 2 entities, whether it's through dissolution of one, where the other would then encompass the one. People are ready for it. People are coming to the understanding that this is just insane. Just rationally bad management to have 2 police departments, and 2 DPWs, and 2 administrative operations, and 2 sets of legal counsel. It does not make financial sense, and people are ready to deal with it.
Joe, I have to ask you one question to start, because I'm very sensitive to that, because I've been willing to go down that road many years ago.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, it used to be
But
heresy.
when you say people are ready for it,
a lot,
then why don't a lot of people do something about it?
for the same reason that the seats are empty.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say, is people make things move. And you're here, but there's no other people. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
No, I agree with you.
Be the petition. I'm not trying to tell you what to do.
No, I've been thinking very much along those lines that perhaps it's
Doug has
time.
always said a clear thing. If the bride doesn't want to get married, and you never come to the altar. So you got to force something to come to the altar.
Absolutely.
Not enough, Joe.
Well taken.
No, I've been thinking along those lines that perhaps it's time to do some sort of a petition calling for a dissolution of the government, the village government, or there was a study that was paid for by both governments. What, in '95?
On the pedal way.
You split the cost with the village?
Yep. It was done by a fellow in Port Jervis.
That's right.
Who passed away very young age.
What was it, 40,000, 20,000?
Yeah, it was a grant.
So you might have been the mayor then.
But
I remember Panel Well when I was supervisor.
Right, but I know at least there's a foundation there to pick up on in terms of studying it. When there was all the hoo-ha about the financing of the bond for the dirt pile removal, there was talk, people were talking about studying consolidation, and nothing has happened, because this new government has basically hit the decks running. It's been like Chinese fire drill over there. It's one issue after another. But
It's not only new government, it's your past government.
no, that's a whole other. I'm saying they have not dealt with it, but I think that there may be a foundation of supporting the community where 3-5 years ago it was considered heresy to even talk about it.
Yep. We're receptive to anything that becomes a little
And what
open and transparent.
it sort of meshes a little bit with this, what you're mentioning about the senior center.
Sure.
It's not enough just to put up notices. I think you need to get articles in the paper, you need to do some public relations work on it, let people know that it's available. And I say that it meshes a little bit because this whole idea of
Well,
doing
Jerry's
something,
not here tonight, that's
Doing
We
something
can't
about
even
the
get the press to
structure.
cover the meeting.
Come on, Joe.
doing something about the structure
Well,
of,
you know, I talked to Eleanor this the day that she called me at home and said, "Look, can I do this?" I said, "Sure, it's a great idea." I said, "Now, how are you going to let everybody know?" She said, "Well, we'll let all the seniors know through that we're going to have a meeting tonight and this and this." I said, "What about other people?" She said, "No, we only have room for the seniors." That was her plan at that time. I said, "Well, what about other people?" And she said she just didn't know about other people, which then brings up a larger issue.
That is a bigger thing.
And because it's the seniors who belong to the seniors, they can fill that place with all the people go down there whose air conditioners don't work. But I think as a community,
the community needs
whether
to have
it's
a-
school or those kind of things, we need something bigger. And
Well, you don't know what you don't know what your need is. I suspect it's a lot larger than perceived. People are probably too embarrassed to admit that
yeah,
they need
I
someplace
think
to
so.
go. But you have websites. You've got newspapers.
The problem was, I think she called like on a Monday, and they wanted to do this Tuesday, and
Yeah, but this
it came so quickly.
this is what I'm trying to say, is that as much as the idea is sound, as much as everything's on the right track, you have the issue of communications. And so much of what both this board and the village board are engaged in is all about communications.
Well, I did mention it's on the website, and
It's on the town website?
it's on Goshen,
Senior Center.
Goshen Senior Center.
Website.
Hold on,
Right
hold
on.
on. Also, Ellen does a report once a month
Yes.
to the Chronicle. It would be in the Chronicle. I'll mention it tonight because I was hoping Jerry was here.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get it out there. I don't want to see two people at the senior center. I want to see the place full if they need it. You know?
I agree, absolutely. All I'm saying is that that message needs to be gotten out there.
We're trying.
As aggressively as you can get it out there.
I mean, I went to the laundromats. I went to where they wash clothes, and I went to the others to Joe. What's his name? The other place that Linda runs the whole place. We try to do the best because it was short time.
Yeah.
It was 95, 98 degrees already, so you had to act on what you
I
had.
think what Lou is reflecting tonight is that he and Ellen have been thinking, going forward, we got caught short this time, the next time is...
The weather was there.
That's also what I'm
Going
saying.
to be,
That's also exactly what I'm saying. As much as you can get the message out there.
Right.
Put it in a box right on the homepage of the town website.
Ellen's going to do that. I'm just trying to mention it tonight. I was hoping Jerry was
It
here.
occurs again.
Good.
And I think, to tie that into the other discussion, it's a matter of communications.
Yes,
If there's a desire to lead the community in the direction, it has to be communicated. It's not enough just to sit here and talk about it, but there has to be an outreach to people.
Good.
Now, that may or may not be the board's job to do. Maybe Mr. Boss with his microphone, maybe me talking to people, maybe people talking about getting petitions going.
Yeah, good. All right, thank you.
Jerry?
Jerry?
If you recall 651-1110 and asked for Mr. Frank Truax, who's the owner of WTVQ, he would probably be more than happy to do a public service announcement
Right.
as you're looking for. Because I know they do it, for other
That's a speed in which we need it done, because the
Yeah.
newspaper and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Or even
What's the
web-
number, Jerry? 1100?
651-1110 on your dial.
Yeah, 1110. That's right. I'm sorry.
Good, well, that's good. Thank you.
And what's his name? Frank?
Frank Truax.
I'll give this to Ellen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Capitalizing on what Joel had to say about the sewer plant. See where we're going to dump the sewage, where we're going to do this, we being stuck with packaged sewers, a mammoth sewer plant, which I believe is a big endeavor for us to undertake. I would do the numbers. What it would cost for us to partner with the village in the sewer plant and become equal partners, equal responsibility as to what goes on there, excluding that dump. I wouldn't go near that because I don't feel I would have any part of this, unless it was a negotiating point. But I think the numbers would be worth looking into versus us building this big plant, them needing...
Well, I think you're assuming we're going to build a plant. What this group is going to look at, what are all the alternatives? And there are many, many alternatives without building a plant.
How do you get rid of it? How do you get rid of the effluent?
That's what this study will do. You can hook into Chester, you can have Florida, you can go to a county place, you can build your own package plant, you can, whatever all these things are.
And you, usually if you build a regional sewer plant, you get developers to build the plant.
That's right.
And then they deed it over to you and you operate the plant. But you have to understand, when we go into the village, and these are only special districts that would go in, not town-wide, so it would be a problem because only the special districts could pay for this plant, number one. And number two, the special districts have no knobs to turn. They can't vote anybody in or out. They have no say. So all the people from the town that are in these special districts you put into the plant, even though we're partners, they would have no say. They have no vote.
So in other words,
jurisdiction. So there are a couple of...
There was a developer that was going to, he offered to build us a plant out at Cheechunk. There is a project right now, I think, on the boards going on out there, Dennis?
Yeah, the Ohms Road, you mean?
Yes, Ohms and Cheechunk.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That sewer plant, according to the developer at that time, would be able to service not only his project, but the 17M corridor, which was the cell.
I just happened to run into him a week ago, and we were talking about the same thing. And he still says, well, I'll build you a sewer plant anyway.
It's not the same developer I'm talking about.
Yes, it is.
This guy ain't got 2 nickels.
It is.
Strangely enough, it is.
It is.
Yes.
So, but that's for another discussion.
You go with him, pal.
No, I'm just telling you, Aaron. But even at that, when we had developers, when the Feeneys were developing 20 years ago, this was a very serious discussion. We had a meeting with all the builders. I don't know if you were attended. And we were just about ready to go, only the developers, because there were enough developers that...
The Feeneys wanted to do it years ago.
Absolutely. And they, for some reason, could not all come to an agreement, and it died a natural death. We just moved on, because those developments did not come to fruition. But it's a real legitimate thing, and frankly, we have an obligation to ensure that the 400 people we have now have sewer. I mean, at one time, the former mayor threatened to turn off the pipes.
No, so
which
we
was
misunderstood
ridiculous.
what he said.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Or whatever. But
misunderstand.
But the problem with this thing is if we had to do something like that, just to do it, then the village, and I live in the village, would lose 400 customers. So it really
Plus
doesn't.
hundreds more. Plus hundreds
Plus
more.
hundreds more. It just doesn't make any sense. However, if we can't provide, we can not make special districts and not be able to provide them with sewer. So it's a real problem. But that's what the exploratory team is going to do. At least we're looking.
Yeah, what it is, we cannot get short-sighted in what we're doing, because the fact is there's going to be a lot of building in the town of Goshen. It's just going to happen. And we can't make commitments and speak on behalf of any degree of credibility if we have no knobs to turn of our own and we're relying on someone else. Oh, we're not going to do it this week.
Yeah.
Oh, next week will be okay.
Yeah.
We just can't go that route. We have to have a partner that's willing to think through the whole thing with us and not get torqued out about something. So, okay, but very good points. These are all things that we'll be looking at. George is the ex-mayor. He knows about what they've got and where they're going. Lou has worked us with Ken on and Dennis on the negotiation of sewer for a couple of years. We're all pretty well versed in this. And Ken and I will continue on the negotiation with the village if that proceeds on. So, but we need to keep our eyes open and do the best for everybody.
Along those lines, has the discussion of the IMA come to a standstill while the arbitration is pending?
No, Ken and I had a meeting with them, and we requested something of them, so we'll hear when they're ready to come back. So it's.
But we have a lot of discussion.
No, I meant between the
serious.
two.
No, I'm sure that they'll come back. I mean,
they have to provide us.
We asked for some information, so that's what they'll do, I'm sure. And when they're ready, we'll proceed on. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the very good input of the public here tonight, with both of you.
Well, we all like to have input here.
And you all do.
You do by now.
All three of us.
All three of us.
A vast horde of 3.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting and go into executive session to discuss the status of the sewer arbitration, discuss the status of the Jewish Lubavitch tax certiorari, review the status of the Time Warner Cable franchise renewal contract with the intent not to return?
So,
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Again, thank you everybody.
Mr. Bassoon, it's always a pleasure.
Yep.